In today's video, I'll show you the best cruise ship that sails year-round from California, Carnival Panorama. She's a great ship for families cruising with children because there's a lot of activities to keep those kids happy. But you might be surprised to know that Carnival Panorama is also a great ship for adults who are looking for a quiet place to relax away from the crowds. I'll show you some of the things I love about this ship, but I'll also point out a big problem that Carnival should fix. Carnival Panorama sails year-round from the port of Long Beach, about a 45-minute drive south of Los Angeles. She's one cruise ship I like a lot. I've sailed on her 4 different times now, plus twice on her sister ships, Carnival Vista and Carnival Horizon. If you're a cruising family with children, this is a great ship that your kids would really love. The only problem is that they'll probably love it so much they'll beg you to take them cruising more often. The water park up on the top deck of the ship is a favorite place for families to have fun at. There are some simple water play activities for very young kids, basic water slides for slightly older kids, and larger, longer water slides for teens and adults. I shot a funny video here in the water park which involved these 2 brothers who were hanging out in the splash zone underneath a big bucket of water that every 4 minutes tips over and dumps several hundred gallons of water on whoever dares to be underneath it. But that's not the funny part of the video. The funny part is what happened right after that. Watch the kid in the lime green t-shirt. Now that's funny, but I think it would be even funnier with some sound effects. The Sky Ride is another fun activity for kids on Carnival Panorama. To get it to go, you have to pedal like you would on a bike. But there's one section that's downhill, and that gives you a little thrill as you pick up speed. There are lots of other fun ways for kids to burn off some energy. There's a sports court that can be configured for various different sports, including basketball, pickleball, and dodgeball. There's also miniature golf. But the place that kids seem to really enjoy the most is the main swimming pool at the center of Lido Deck, as well as the pool and the hot tubs at the aft end of Lido Deck. So there's no shortage of things to do on Carnival Panorama for kids of all ages, even the young at heart. I was on board over the Easter holiday, so there were a lot of kids on board, a lot more than I've seen in my previous cruises at other times of the year. But even with all those kids aboard, you might be surprised to know that there is an oasis of calm and quiet in a special area at the back end of the ship known as the Havana Area. The Havana Area has its own swimming pool, 2 hot tubs, a large sun deck with comfortable chairs, loungers, and daybeds, and the Havana Area has its own bar, too, including staff who will bring drinks directly to you. The Havana Area is very uncrowded because most passengers on Carnival Panorama don't have access to this area. The only people who do are the ones who have paid a little bit more to be in one of the cabins here in the Havana Area. And families with kids under the age of 12 are specifically forbidden from booking a cabin back here. So that also helps keep things peaceful and quiet in the Havana Area. If you're familiar with the Haven on Norwegian or the Sanctuary on Princess, just think of the Havana Area on Carnival Panorama as Carnival's version of that same idea. Now stick with me here. Right after this break, I'll show you a couple of the foods I can't get enough of on Carnival Panorama. And I'll also talk about a problem with the Havana area that Carnival really needs to fix. Guy's Burger Joint is legendary among Carnival cruisers, so you don't need me to tell you how good these burgers are. But there's a second Guy Fieri restaurant on board Carnival Panorama that I bet some Panorama passengers never get around to trying. I'm talking about the Pig and Anchor restaurant. Do yourself a favor and try the trash can nachos at the Pig and Anchor sometime. They're incredible. There's also a lot of good barbecue food on the menu at the Pig and Anchor. On sea days, the Pig and Anchor also serves free barbecue food at lunchtime. I just wish they offered fries with it like they do at Guy's Burger Joint. Which leads me to point out a few negatives I noticed on this cruise. Now, I've sailed with Carnival a lot, more than any other cruise line, and things usually go very smoothly on my Carnival cruises. But this time, there were a couple of things that just weren't right. On embarkation day, when they made the announcement at 1:30 p.m. that all the cabins were now ready, I was surprised to find that mine wasn't ready. My cabin steward still hadn't finished preparing it. One of the main reasons I keep coming back to Carnival Panorama over and over again is the uncrowded pool, hot tubs, sun deck, and bar at the Havana area at the back of the ship. But there's one thing that really annoys me when I'm trying to relax in the Havana area. That darned Cuban music that they play continuously through the various loudspeakers in the Havana area. If you asked 100 Americans what kind of music they like to listen to when lounging around a pool, do you really think that very many of them would say, "Oh, please play Cuban music"? Now, don't get me wrong, I love Carnival's Havana area, but noise-canceling headphones are a must for me back here because the Cuban music just annoys the heck out of me after a while. Now that I've got that rant out of my system, I do want to point out a great employee that they had in the Havana area the week I was aboard. This is Janellen, who was just so pleasant and friendly with me and my wife. She spent the day keeping the Havana area clean, and she had a smile on her face every time I saw her. I do love the creative design of this unusual thing in the atrium of Carnival Panorama. I call it the Vortex. I don't know what the official Carnival name for it is. Every time you walk through the atrium, the Vortex has a different look to it. I think it's a very unique design element. And when you see a photo or video of it, you know you're looking at one of Carnival's Vista-class ships. They're the only ones that have it. The reason my wife and I were sailing on Carnival Panorama this week was to celebrate our 45th wedding anniversary. Our travel agent had a nice surprise for us. She arranged to have our cabin decorated with festive happy anniversary decorations. That was a very nice, unexpected surprise for us. For years now, I've been booking all my cruises through a travel agent rather than booking them directly through the cruise line's website. I find it so much easier to just speak with my travel agent rather than having to call some cruise line call center when I have a question and hope that I get somebody decent on the line. Now, if you want to get a great travel agent working for you, feel free to use mine, Caitlin Gallagher. She's not just a travel agent either. Caitlin is actually the owner of Ambrin Travel. Let me give you a look through our cabin because it's a unique type of cabin known as a Havana Cabana. The big difference between a regular balcony cabin and a Havana Cabana is that a Havana Cabana has a patio rather than a balcony. And there's a great little swing on the patio that my wife just loves. She can spend an hour out here just enjoying the swing, the views, and the warm tropical weather. The patio has a gate, and when you leave your patio via that gate, it leads you to the Havana Sun Deck and the hot tubs, swimming pool, and the Havana Bar, all of which are for the exclusive use of the guests staying in staterooms in the Havana area of the ship. The vast majority of the ship's passengers don't have access, and that's why these hot tubs and the pool and the Havana Bar are always so uncrowded. To me, it's the best thing about Carnival Panorama. The main pool area in the center of Carnival Panorama's Lido deck is fun if you're 18 and looking for a party, but I'm about 50 years older than that, so I'm looking for a quiet, relaxing vacation, and the Havana area is where you'll find me. Our cruise spent 2 days in Cabo San Lucas and 1 day in Ensenada. And honestly, Ensenada is not anything for a cruiser to get excited about, at least not yet. But notice that big empty lot here at the port of Ensenada. That is the future home of Ensenada Bay Village, a new $26 million attraction that Carnival is just about to start construction on. And cruisers are going to love it. It will feature heated pools, a beach club, a lazy river water ride, and a zip line, plus food and beverage options. Once Ensenada Bay Village is complete, about 2 years from now, cruising to Ensenada will be something to look forward to. So there you have it. That's a recap of my 33rd cruise with Carnival and my 73rd cruise overall, bringing me to 523 days on cruise ships so far. And I have 2 or 3 more cruises coming later this year. I'm Jim Zim. Thanks for watching.